Okay, so we are going to talk about physical development in adolescence. Um, a lot of this should be review from health class, or at least that's what I assumed. But when I asked last class how much you all learn about puberty, they basically said you don't learn about it. That may have been a lie, but I still can't really figure out what y'all learn in health class. Uh, it appears to not be this stuff, which you would think. All right, so puberty. Puberty is obviously the period of sexual maturation that um, it would go through. It can be from, kind of the age range is from about 8 to 15 or so, where all of these changes start happening. You become capable of reproduction, right? A lot of it is due to uh, production of testosterone, which or in males and females, and then the production of estrogen in females. Testosterone is in a class of hormones called androgens, and both of these together. What like collectively? What do we call these types of hormones? Anybody know? Anybody? They play a big role in certain things. Well, we do call them hormones because they are hormones, but they are in a sort of a group of hormones called, what do they have a big influence on? As your body starts producing these, what starts being on your mind a little bit more? Girls' brains working. Like this is something that you all should know. Has anybody ever heard of sex? Yes. Okay. All right. These are collectively known as sex hormones. All right, because they play a big role in sexual behavior. You know, they play a big role in the fact that as you become teenagers, you get like your sex drive increases a lot, and as teenagers, sex is on your mind a lot. Um, it has also played a big role in the production acne. You start having pimples, your body, your sweat starts to smell bad. Um, and some of you, I haven't had it this year, but some teenagers need to learn that they need to put on deodorant, especially when it gets warmer out. And there'll be sometimes when my classroom, people will leave the classroom and it will be like, whew, like the BO will be off the chain, right? Teenagers need to be using deodorant. Um, so with puberty, right? So who remembers what is maturation? We talked about this at the beginning of the unit. Yes, all right. The sequence of biological growth. Okay. The sequence of biological growth that we all go through. We all basically go through it in the same order, whether it's learning to crawl before we walk or, you know, having your first period before whatever happens next in there. Okay. So the sequence for puberty is pretty much the same for everyone, although timing might be different. Who goes through puberty first, boys or girls? Girls do, yep. Which is why in middle school, girls tend to be taller than guys in middle school and more mature than guys in middle school. Guys still have kind of the weird preteen, like lanky bodies where girls might be more physically developed. But then by high school, guys usually kind of they shoot over. They get taller than girls. Part of this is due to body fat. So one of the things that they found is that puberty is happening earlier and earlier in some countries, which where, if puberty was normally, girls had their first period between, age of 10 and 13. Now they're seeing it sometimes as early as like 8. Does anybody know why this is? Why some kids are going through puberty earlier than they did before? Come on, guys, help me out, please. I know that today's the last day before break, but just take a guess. Why might we be going through puberty earlier than we did before? It's not evolution because it's happening. Like stuff with evolution takes thousands of years. It's happening within like this generation. It is something with their hormones, but all right, culture, it's partially culture, but somebody said last time, things they see in the environment. Like you don't go through puberty. Like a guy doesn't just go through puberty the first time you see like somebody naked. It's not like all of a sudden, like, okay. All right. Nicole says hormones put in food. Absolutely. Okay. The food that we're eating nowadays has a lot more animal hormones in it, which is causing us to be fatter. Right. And higher body weight, especially in females, triggers puberty at an earlier age. And one of the things that they have found is that, especially with girls, physical development, like maturing physically, is happening a lot earlier than cognitive development, cognitive maturity. So a girl may be, fully formed by the age of 11 or 12, but they still don't have the cognitive aspect, which is leading to some issues, especially with girls becoming sexually active earlier than they should or whatnot. All right. So figured you all would know more about puberty, considering you're all in the process of going through it. But yeah. All right, so during puberty, we see the development of a couple different types of what are called sexual characteristics. Primary sexual characteristics are the development of body structures or the maturity of body structures that are involved in reproduction. So, what do you think? What's sort of the main, what are the main things with this? What do we need to have to reproduce? What on the biological level? All right, thank you. Yes, yeah, okay. All right, we do have to have the necessary organs. Yes, but more than anything else, we've got to have sperm and we have to have eggs. So when you're a teenager, your body starts producing these. There are also going to be physical changes in genitals, in both male and female genitals. Okay. But these are the main ones, anything that is involved directly in reproduction. Secondary sex characteristics are the development of things that are not directly involved in reproduction, although they may play a role, such as widening of the hips for females, make it easier to bear a child, deepening of your voice starts to change. That's a very awkward stage, especially guys go through where their voice is cracking all the time. Body hair on your body, on your face, in your pubic region, blah blah blah. And breast development as well. So these are non-reproductive sexual characteristics. Okay. All right, landmarks for puberty. Menarche for girls. Anybody know what is menarche? Or menarche? I think it's menarche, but it might be menarche. I'm not sure. Think about it. All right. Men. Yes, thank you. Okay. All right. Menarche is first period. And then you get first ejaculation for guys. Right? Anybody know what that's called? Yes, thank you. Sperm arc. And both of these are vocabulary terms. All right. All right. Last thing with teenagers, the teenage brain. Okay. We've talked about this already. But the teenage brain is essentially all gas but no brakes. All right. It's going, but it's kind of like the teenage brain is like a horse, but if you're riding the horse, but you're riding the horse, but you don't have any reins and your hands are tied behind your back. So the horse is going, but you don't really have many ways to slow it down. As we've talked about, the frontal lobe maturation. So we're going to watch a video on this here in a sec, but our brain develops from back to front. So, like the occipital lobe is the first to develop because we need vision, right? So it develops like this. Um, and because of that, the limbic system, that system that surrounds the brain stem, the emotional system, develops earlier than the frontal lobe, particularly what's called the prefrontal cortex. So if you see here, okay, so this is the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. All right, there's a teen brain right there. You can see the prefrontal cortex of a teen brain is not fully functioning. Even of a 20-year-old in this fMRI, it's not functioning. Fully developed around the age of 25 or so. But because of this, because the limbic system sends out those signals, the prefrontal cortex kind of reins it in. But if it's not fully developed, it can't do that. So between the surge of hormones, testosterone and estrogen, dominant limbic system, and then a prefrontal cortex that doesn't really do that well yet, this helps explain teenage impulsiveness, risky behaviors, emotions, why teens are so horny all the time, all right, why they can't plan anything. Who in here is really bad at planning or following through with plans or being on time to plans or any of those things? Yeah. Okay. That's a teenagers just aren't good at that, um, or at least a lot aren't. So, but yeah, so teenage brain is just all gas, no brakes. Now, one of the other things that the teenage brain really craves reward more so than any other age. All right, the teenage brain learns a lot from reward. And we can tie it back to identity versus role confusion with Erickson. You're going through all of these different, you're trying out all of these different roles to see which one of them is like, oh shit, I got a good feeling from doing this. Okay. All right. So we're going to watch a little video. It's about 4 minutes long about how, we kind of talk about the teenage brain as, you all don't have any control, blah, blah, blah. There is an evolutionary advantage to having your brain like this, right? Because it actually lets you sort of try out a lot of different things. It keeps you a little bit more open-minded. So we're going to watch a quick video on that. Um, where is the? Oh. Hmm. Oh well. Oh, why did I get signed out of? Come on, damn it. All right, so there you go, guys. So not all bad. Just so the striatum is is right around the hypothalamus. Okay. Any questions there? All right, almost done. Okay, so physical and cognitive development, middle and late adulthood. By about your mid 20s, unfortunately, we you kind of hit your physical peak. All right, and after that, it's kind of all downhill. And I can tell you, I'm 33 and I'm still in pretty good shape, but you start noticing it a lot more. Like for instance, like I have an injury to my shoulder right now. I don't know why. I don't know how it happened, but my shoulder is injured. Okay. And it just starts to be more of that stuff. You just kind of get hurt easier and whatnot. Um, One of the major landmarks is menopause. Anybody know what is menopause? Yes, okay. In our as we get older, we have a decrease in sex hormones, and as when women hit around the age of 50 or so, women have a limited amount of eggs. They produce a limited amount of eggs, and I think by about the age of 30, you have like half of the eggs that you had when you were like a teenager. But around the age of 50, they essentially their bodies they stop producing eggs, and so their period stops. Um, and along with this, their body stops producing estrogen or as much estrogen. A lot of women have to take estrogen supplements like estradiol. Guys start to lose testosterone as well and might have to take testosterone supplements. What do you think this decrease in sex hormones? What do you think this leads to a decrease in as well? Well, yes, less children, but because women can't have children once they go through menopause. But if we don't have the sex hormones, girls' health teachers really need to do a better job with this. What did I say? The sex hormones play a big role in your what? Okay, behavior, but specifically, guys, help me out. The faster you answer questions, the faster I will get you out of here. Andrew, thank you. Sex drive. Your sex hormones play a role in your sex drive. As you get older, your sex drive decreases. All right. For you all right now, it's on your mind a lot. As you get older, though, it becomes less and less. All right. Life expectancy in the US is about 79. It sounds good, but we're actually relatively low compared to other countries like Japan and Switzerland. The life expectancy is around 84. But what they are actually seeing is that life expectancy in the United States is slowly decreasing. Like it's gotten a lot better. So, for instance, in 1880, the life expectancy was 39 years old. Right now, it's 79, but it's actually going down, which is they're not seeing that in most other developed countries. Why might life expectancy in the United States be going down? What could some of the factors be? All right. Smoking is a big factor. All right. Even though the rate of smoking is going down a lot, you still have people who are dying now from smoking have been smoking for a long time. Okay. Obesity. Obesity is the number one. All right. And Trump, when he was elected, talked about how we're going to get so tired of winning. One of the things that we have continued winning on is obesity. We are number one when it comes to obesity. Two-thirds of Americans are overweight, with one-third of them being obese. Um, and and just to put it in context, of like unnatural, I can't remember what the term is, but of 100,000 out of 100,000 deaths, 72 in the US are related to something dealing with obesity, whether it's heart disease, which we're number one. We are great with heart disease. All these other factors that go along with obesity, 72 out of 100,000 Americans with unexpected death die from that. Second most is Germany, and they have 48 out of 100,000. So we have almost doubled the second place. Any other things that we can think of that lead that why we are the leader in, or why our life expectancy is going down? Suicide plays a role, but it's not. I mean, there is a role in it. Radioactivity may lead to cancer, maybe, but drugs, yeah, specifically the opioid epidemic playing a role in it. Um, of all unexpected deaths in the U.S., we lead the world in opioid overdoses. We have 13 out of 100,000. The second most is Canada with 3 out of 100,000 deaths. Any other factors we can think of? What is one thing that we have a lot more of than most other countries do? Not necessarily suicide. U.S. is kind of in the middle on suicide. We already talked about that, but there's something else that the U.S. Americans really value this. No, yeah, but I don't think we. All right, okay, all right, Ben, you're on the right track. It's a big debate. Guns, guns, yes. Hey, our homicide rate is crazy high compared to the rest of the world. We have 6.1 out of 100,000. The closest behind us is Canada with 1.5 out of 100,000. Now, not all of these are gun-related deaths, but the majority of homicides are gun-related, right? And then another big factor is lack of health care. And I don't want to, getting in, when we talk about the Second Amendment, some people get triggered, no pun intended, okay? And then health care, all right, people get all worked up about it, but only about 80% of Americans have health care compared to most of the rest of the developed world where it's usually about 100% because of this horrible idea of universal health care. All right. Don't worry about death deferral phenomenon. And then last thing, almost done. Cognitive decline. All right. Neurocognitive disorders, which what used to be called dementia. I don't know why they changed the name of it. Contributing factors can be hearing loss. Loss of hearing is the main contributing factor to neurocognitive disorders at old age because you sort of lose touch with the outside world. Heavy alcohol use, especially when you're older, strokes, brain tumors, smoking, etc. Um, the most well known of these is Alzheimer's disease, which we know is a partially due to a deterioration of acetylcholine neurons. Does anybody have a family member who has or had Alzheimer's? Okay. Do you remember them having it at all, Sol? What's it like? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that's generally there's early onset, but most of the time they start showing signs in their 70s or so. And the first sign can be like just little forgetfulness things, like forgetting where they put something or whatnot. Their ability to reason goes down, and then they start having emotional disturbances. Disorientation is a big one. Like they'll be somewhere and they won't know how they got there, or they won't know where they are, even if it's somewhere that they are used to going. And then finally, like incontinence, meaning they lose control of bodily functions. They have to wear diapers and whatnot. You know, the worst thing with Alzheimer's, the main thing is the memory aspect. But what you hear with people with Alzheimer's is they're there, like they're still a person, but they're just like a shell of the person. Like they've lost all of the essence of who they are because they just lose all of their faculties. All right.